What happens when a senator's wife gets caught drunk behind the wheel, and then, in the middle of her own court hearing, casually pulls out her phone and calls her husband for rescue? This 45-year-old woman is about to discover that some phone calls carry consequences, some titles don't buy protection, and some husbands refuse to trade integrity for convenience. But the reason this case is unforgettable isn't just the reckless driving. It's what she crashed into, the man she left behind, and the moment Judge Caprio placed her husband on speakerphone for the entire courtroom to hear. Tell us where you're tuning in from, because what unfolds in the next few minutes will remind you that political influence doesn't erase responsibility. It's a quiet Wednesday afternoon in Providence Municipal Court. Judge Frank Caprio scans a file that has already stirred public attention. Diana Crawford, 45, wife of Rhode Island State Senator Michael Crawford, faces charges of DUI with property damage, leaving the scene, and failure to render aid. The incident happened 9 days earlier at 9:47 p.m. in a Providence shopping plaza parking lot, an event the security cameras captured with devastating clarity. The footage shows Diana maneuvering her Mercedes SUV through the lot when she slams into a parked 2015 Honda Accord. The crash crumples the Honda's rear quarter panel, crunches the bumper, and warps the trunk. The impact is so strong it triggers the car's alarm and activates its collision sensors. That Honda belongs to Robert Martinez, a 67-year-old Vietnam War veteran who had stepped inside the nearby pharmacy to pick up medication for his wife, who lives with MS and struggles with mobility. The video reveals Diana stepping out of her Mercedes, swaying slightly, assessing the damage, then climbing back into her vehicle and driving off. No note left, no police call made, no effort whatsoever to check if anyone was hurt. A witness captured her plate number. Police tracked her down at her home just 40 minutes later. Her blood alcohol level at 10:32 p.m. registered at 0.14, almost double the legal limit. Given the timeline, investigators estimate her BAC at the moment of impact was closer to 0.16 or higher. And when officers reached her front door to make the arrest, Diana's first words were, "Do you know who my husband is?" Her husband, of course, is State Senator Michael Crawford, now in his third term, known statewide for pushing criminal justice reform and for his reputation as a steady, bipartisan leader. Now, 9 days later, Diana steps into Judge Caprio's courtroom wearing an expensive outfit and an expression suggesting she still thinks this is a minor inconvenience soon to be swept aside. Beside her is attorney Thomas Whitmore, one of Providence's most politically connected lawyers, carrying his briefcase and the unmistakable confidence of a man who believes influence and money can make almost anything disappear. Judge Caprio watches Diana enter with the same quiet scrutiny he gives every defendant, but it's instantly clear she doesn't walk like someone facing serious criminal charges. She walks like someone arriving at a charity luncheon expecting gratitude for simply showing up. The bailiff announces the case. Judge Caprio reviews the charges, his voice steady and deliberate, ensuring each accusation is stamped into the public record. Driving under the influence with property damage. Leaving the scene. Failure to render aid or check for injury. Before the judge can continue, Diana's attorney leaps forward, requesting a sidebar to discuss sensitive matters, given Mrs. Crawford's status in the community. Judge Caprio's reply is immediate, sharp, and leaves no oxygen for negotiation. "Mr. Whitmore, this is a public courtroom. Everything stays on the record. If your client's conduct can't withstand public scrutiny, that's an issue with the conduct, not the record." Whitmore pivots. He softens his voice, praises Diana's previously spotless record, reminds the judge of the Crawford family's contributions to Rhode Island, and highlights Senator Crawford's legislative accomplishments. Judge Caprio cuts him off mid-sentence. "Mr. Whitmore, your client's husband's political work is not evidence. This case is about what she did, not who she's married to. If you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Because what follows is a masterclass in what happens when someone attempts to shield themselves with political influence. Judge Caprio turns to Diana. Do you understand the charges against you? She nods, wearing the expression of someone tolerating an unnecessary inconvenience. Yes, Your Honor, but I think things have been exaggerated. Exaggerated? Judge Caprio lifts the police report. Mrs. Crawford, you struck a parked vehicle while driving with a blood alcohol level of 0.14. You left the scene without leaving any information. Those are facts, not exaggerations. Diana shifts defensive. The damage wasn't that serious, and I thought since it was private property, I didn't have to report it. Judge Caprio's tone hardens. Mrs. Crawford, hit-and-run laws apply on all property, public or private, and the severity of the damage is not determined by the person who caused it. He signals to the clerk, play the footage. The courtroom lights dim slightly as the monitor displays the security video. Diana's Mercedes clips Robert Martinez's Honda with unmistakable force. The alarm blares. Sensors flash. Diana steps out, steadies herself, surveys the damage for nearly half a minute, then gets back in and drives off. No hesitation. No note. No conscience. The evidence is airtight. Judge Caprio turns to her again. Mrs. Crawford, do you recognize what's shown here? Yes, but I was in shock. I wasn't thinking clearly. He doesn't let her off the hook. The footage shows you examining the damage for 30 seconds. That's long enough to leave a note, long enough to call the police, long enough to choose the right thing. Diana's lips part as if to respond, then close again. She has nothing. The courtroom feels it. Judge Caprio lifts the victim impact statement from Robert Martinez and reads it silently for a moment. When he begins summarizing, the courtroom goes still. Robert describes stepping out of the pharmacy to find his Honda badly damaged. No note. No explanation. Nothing but a mess he couldn't afford. He explains that his insurance carries a $1,000 deductible, an amount extremely difficult for him and his wife to manage on their fixed income. And because their wheelchair-accessible van is currently in the shop, they rely entirely on that Honda for his wife's medical appointments. What Diana damaged wasn't just a car. It was the lifeline of an elderly couple already struggling under the weight of a progressive illness. Judge Caprio turns to Diana. Have you attempted to contact Mr. Martinez, to apologize, to offer restitution? Before she can respond, Whitmore interjects that legal counsel advised against it. The judge's tone sharpens instantly. Legal strategy does not erase moral responsibility, Mr. Whitmore. Your client fled the scene, and 9 days later she still hasn't taken a single step toward making this right. Diana finally speaks, a defensive edge creeping into her voice. Your Honor, I understand I made a mistake. My family is prepared to pay for the damages. We just want to resolve this matter quietly and move on. Quietly? Judge Caprio repeats, disbelief cracking through the air. Mrs. Crawford, you want quiet because your husband is a state senator, but the Martinez family cannot resolve their hardship quietly. They live with the consequences of your actions every single day. Diana's jaw tightens. For the first time, her expression shifts from irritated to genuinely rattled. Judge Caprio calls Officer Jennifer Santos, who handled the arrest. Officer Santos testifies about locating Diana at her home, the strong smell of alcohol, and her initial refusal to take a breathalyzer, until told that refusal would lead to automatic license suspension. What was Mrs. Crawford's demeanor during the arrest? The judge asks. Dismissive, Your Honor, Santos replies. She repeatedly asked if we knew who her husband was. She said we were wasting police resources and should be dealing with real crimes. Judge Caprio requests the body camera audio. The courtroom fills with Diana's voice, slurred, impatient, arrogant. Do you know who my husband is? He's a state senator. You're making a huge mistake. This will be taken care of. When the recording ends, the silence is suffocating. Judge Caprio turns to her. Mrs. Crawford, that audio was recorded at 10:32 p.m. 45 minutes after you hit Mr. Martinez's vehicle and drove off. Instead of taking responsibility, you tried to intimidate officers with your husband's status. Diana tries to recover. I was stressed, I didn't mean. You meant every word, the judge says firmly. You expected your husband's position to erase your actions. And then Diana detonates the moment that will define her entire case. She reaches into her purse, pulls out her phone and begins dialing in open court. Judge Caprio's voice slices through the tension. Mrs. Crawford, what are you doing? I'm calling my husband, she replies, lifting the phone to her ear. He can explain this better than I can. The courtroom collectively inhales. Did she really just try to call her husband, a sitting state senator, in the middle of a criminal hearing? Mrs. Crawford, put that phone away immediately. But she doesn't. He handles legal matters. He'll know what to say. Judge Caprio's voice turns icy. Mrs. Crawford, you are standing in my courtroom facing criminal charges, and you just attempted to contact your husband for assistance during active proceedings. That is contempt of court. Diana slowly lowers the phone, but it's far too late. With one action, she has revealed exactly what she believes, that her husband's political power can override the rules of a courtroom. Judge Caprio makes a decision that will be talked about in Rhode Island legal circles for decades. Bailiff, he says, his voice echoing through the courtroom, retrieve Mrs. Crawford's phone. Diana freezes. This is not the direction she thought this was going. Mrs. Crawford, Judge Caprio continues, you attempted to call your husband, so I'm going to give you exactly what you wanted. We're going to speak to Senator Crawford right now. The color drains from Diana's face. At Judge Caprio's instruction, the clerk dials the senator's office. The courtroom barely breathes as the line rings. Within minutes, the connection clicks. Judge Caprio taps the speaker button. Senator Crawford, this is Judge Frank Caprio at the Providence Municipal Court. Your wife is presently before me on DUI charges, and she attempted to contact you during court proceedings. I've put you on speaker so this matter can be addressed publicly. A heavy pause. Then Senator Michael Crawford's voice fills the room, steady, controlled, but unmistakably strained. Your Honor, I apologize for my wife's behavior. She had no right to call me during a hearing. Diana lunges toward the microphone. Michael. Judge Caprio raises a hand, stopping her. The senator continues. Your Honor, for the record, I've known about these charges since the night she was arrested. I advised her to accept responsibility, apologize to Mr. Martinez, and comply with whatever sentence the court imposes. Diana's eyes flare in disbelief. This is not the rescue she called for. Senator Crawford, Judge Caprio asks, are you asking this court to consider leniency because of your position? Diana braces herself. She knows his answer. She just doesn't want to hear it. No, Your Honor, the senator replies. His voice deepens. I'm asking you to treat her like any other defendant. Her actions were wrong. And the fact that she's married to a state senator doesn't make drunk driving, property damage, or leaving an elderly veteran at the scene any less serious. Diana whispers harshly into the phone, Michael, stop. What are you doing? He hears her. Diana, I told you to take responsibility. You chose not to. My work for years has focused on criminal justice reform, fairness, accountability. I cannot stand in front of the public and preach those values, then demand special treatment behind closed doors. Judge Caprio asks, Senator, is there anything else you'd like to add? There's a long breath on the line before the senator speaks again. Yes, Your Honor. Robert Martinez is a Vietnam veteran. My father served in Vietnam as well. The fact that my wife hit Mr. Martinez's car and drove away, leaving him to deal with the aftermath alone, is deeply shameful to me. Mr. Martinez served this country. He deserves respect, not to be the victim of a hit-and-run from someone who later invokes political influence. The courtroom is silent, so silent that even Diana's unsteady breathing seems loud. Tears stream down her face, tears of shock, of disbelief, of the sinking realization that the protection she counted on is gone. Your Honor, the senator concludes, whatever sentence you believe is fair, you have my full support. My wife must understand that her last name doesn't grant immunity. If this were anyone else, I would expect accountability. I expect the same for her. Judge Caprio nods. Thank you, Senator. The call disconnects. Diana stands at the defendant's table, alone, exposed, the illusion of influence stripped away. The rescue she assumed was guaranteed, has transformed into a public, undeniable declaration of accountability. Judge Caprio's voice is calm, steady, yet edged with unmistakable authority. Mrs. Crawford, your husband, the man you attempted to call for help in the middle of these proceedings, just instructed this court to treat you like any other defendant. And that, he says, leaning forward slightly, is exactly what I intend to do. He begins reviewing the evidence piece by piece, each item landing like a stone. The security footage, undeniable proof she struck Mr. Martinez's vehicle. The body camera audio, her threatening officers with her husband's political influence. The 0.14 BAC, clear intoxication. And finally, the attempted phone call in court, a sign that even now, she believes power should shield her from consequences. Judge Caprio delivers his sentence with the precision of someone who has weighed every factor. For driving under the influence, he begins, a $1,000 fine, mandatory alcohol education, and a 1-year suspension of your license. For leaving the scene, an additional $500 fine and 80 hours of community service at a veteran support organization. For failure to render aid, another $250. And for contempt of court, using your phone during active proceedings, another $500. Total monetary penalties, $2,250. But he's not done. He orders full restitution to Robert Martinez. $4,300 in repairs, plus his $1,000 insurance deductible. Total restitution, $5,300. She must also write formal letters of apology to both Mr. Martinez and Officer Santos, each reviewed by the court before they are sent. And then comes the part that stops Diana in her tracks. Her 80 hours of community service must be performed specifically with elderly veterans, transporting them to appointments, assisting with paperwork, helping them navigate the VA system, the very kind of help Robert Martinez needed when his car was out of commission. Total financial impact, $7,550, not including attorney fees. Total time commitment, 80 hours of service plus mandatory education. Total consequence, 1 year without a license, and a permanent record of contempt for attempting to leverage political power in court. Diana's attorney stands. Your Honor, this sentence seems. Judge Caprio cuts him off instantly. Mr. Whitmore, your client drove drunk, caused significant property damage, fled the scene, threatened police officers, and then tried to call her husband during court proceedings. Every part of this sentence is proportional to her actions. There's nothing left to argue. As Diana is escorted out, she passes Robert Martinez, who has watched the entire hearing quietly from the gallery. She does not look at him, does not speak, does not apologize. She simply walks past him as though he isn't there at all. Mr. Martinez rises slowly, leaning on the bench for support. Your Honor, may I say something? Of course, Mr. Martinez, Judge Caprio replies. I just want to thank you, he says, voice steady but thick with emotion. I'm 67. I served in Vietnam. I've never asked for special treatment. But I also never expected to be treated like I didn't matter. Mrs. Crawford hit my car and drove off like I was nobody. He pauses, eyes glistening. You just showed me that in your courtroom I am somebody. Thank you. Judge Caprio nods, visibly moved. Mr. Martinez, you've always been somebody. This court simply ensured Mrs. Crawford finally understood that. Within hours, word of what happened spreads across Rhode Island. The audio of Diana trying to call her husband in the middle of court sends shockwaves through local news. Senator Crawford's firm statement supporting full accountability explodes across social media. 2 days later, Senator Crawford steps up to a podium for a press conference. Cameras flash. Reporters lean forward. My wife's behavior was unacceptable, he begins. Her refusal to accept responsibility is unacceptable. I've built my career on criminal justice reform, on accountability, on fairness. I cannot advocate for those principles publicly while staying married to someone who believes political connections can erase criminal behavior. He announces a separation. 6 months later, it becomes a divorce. Ironically, his approval ratings rise. Voters respect the rare politician willing to choose integrity over personal comfort. 3 weeks after sentencing, Diana begins her community service, driving elderly veterans to appointments. Week 1, silent, irritated. Week 5, starting to listen. Week 12, sitting with them in waiting rooms, asking about their pasts, hearing their sacrifices. One veteran, Thomas Kim, tells her about a friend he served with in Vietnam, a man named Martinez. She hesitates. Robert Martinez. Thomas smiles. Yes, one of the bravest men I knew. That's when Diana breaks. For the first time, she fully understands the weight of what she did. She didn't just hit a car, she dishonored a man who put his life on the line for people like her. She finishes her 80 hours. She completes her alcohol education. Her apology letters are finally accepted by the court. 6 months later, she requests a meeting with Robert Martinez. He agrees. They sit in a quiet coffee shop. Diana's voice trembles. Mr. Martinez, I hit your car and drove away like you didn't matter. I threatened police. I tried to call my husband in the middle of court to make it all disappear. I was wrong about everything. I'm sorry. Robert listens silently. Then he says something that stops her cold. Mrs. Crawford, I forgive you. But hear me clearly. I didn't serve this country so people like you could have special privileges. I served so everyone would be equal under the law. Judge Caprio reminded you of that. Don't forget it again. 1 year after sentencing, Diana has completed every requirement. Her license is reinstated. Her divorce finalized. Her life looks nothing like it did before. Yet she continues volunteering with veterans, long after her required hours end. Because she's learned something no connection, title, or marriage ever gave her. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned. Don't forget to subscribe for more extraordinary moments where political power collides with accountability, and where judges like Frank Caprio prove that no title, no last name, no powerful spouse places anyone above the law. Hit that like button if you believe calling your husband during a court hearing reveals everything about entitlement. Comment below, did Senator Crawford make the right choice leaving his wife? Because this story isn't just about one drunk driver facing consequences. It's about understanding that political marriages don't guarantee immunity, that no phone call can erase responsibility, and that some leaders value integrity more than protecting those who abuse power. Diana Crawford walked into court believing her husband's position would save her. She dialed his number, expecting rescue. Instead, she heard him tell the judge to treat her just like anyone else. That phone call, the one she thought would fix everything, became the moment that changed her entire life. That's justice. That's integrity. That's the legacy of Judge Frank Caprio.